Welcome to Biggest Geek Ass. We're your hosts. I'm Randy.
I'm Joe.
This is episode 194 of our show, and the date is Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. What's up, brother?
Well, not a whole lot. I'm off work for a month.
A month?
Because I broke my finger. Last week I showed her it's not as swollen as it was, but still doing the spot thing, if not as bad.
You don't need to wear that wrap you had on the other day?
Not 24/7. So
that sounds like basically code for we need to game like crazy people.
Yes. Okay. So I am off work until the 10th of July, something like that.
I think we threw Halcyon off. He said we're on the wrong sides. Normally you're on the other side. Oh, look at Joe. Your wish is his command, Halcyon.
We are now in the real world, not the opposite world.
Halcyon, Patrick, Demo, Larry Elliott, Martinson. Got a decent little beginning crowd here, and that's not bad at all. Looks like a lot of our dudes. Hey, Balthazar and Iron Man. Sweet. Yeah, the intro music is happening.
Yeah, it was last week too. So
there was some kind of problem somebody had on that.
Yeah, I tried a different setup, and instead of maybe doing it, having a practice run, still be live but be private, and just invite a couple people to test it out with. I just decided, what could go wrong? I'll just do it live, regular show. Yeah,
that always works out well. That's a good strategy. Oh,
yes, Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Right on, dude. So I didn't get to game. Did you this past week?
Mm-mm.
That should change for me this Saturday. Our Minders group is meeting nice and early. I had to push it back. We normally meet at 10 or 11. I said I wanted to start at 9:30 because I am going to go see the extended editions of The Lord of the Rings here at my local theater on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I spent a bundle, but I'm excited. I love it. It's going to be a good time. Been looking forward. We haven't watched it this year, so.
So Balthazar wonders what kind of DM would Mr. Rogers make.
He'd probably give match items away, which is weak. Weak.
Well, yeah.
Yep.
That is a meme. Oh, so I think Mr. Rogers would be kind of like low impact.
Yeah, probably a very forgiving system too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he'd be super easy because he does believe in consequences, but I don't think there'd be a lot of drastic consequences. I think there'd be a lot of, are you sure you want to do that? In a very friendly tone.
Yeah. Well, Timmy, you did trip that trap. You fell. Your character fell onto 1 foot long spikes with poison on them. You might want to make that saving throw. Don't roll a 1.
And what did we learn today?
Watch out for traps.
Oh, our man said he just played in an epic 2-day D-Day minis game.
Oh, that's cool.
I bet that was pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah, I agree. Balthazar says, watch him be very tough, super tough, but very kind about it.
Yeah.
Man. So yeah, I'm missing gaming, and I'm gonna play, but my mind has started to get juices are flowing, and I'm pumped about playing. And hey, speaking of that, have you heard of Castles and Crusades Reforged? I don't know what that involves. It sounds like, well, at first I was like, man, what kind of money grab is this? But the Troll Lords, that OGL scandal from last year,
yeah,
I guess scared them like it should. and they redid the books without the OGL in it.
Yeah, I heard they were going to do that, but I didn't know if they had named it.
Started yesterday, and I'm sort of tempted, but I've already got all the books. I got a free 10th edition. You can get a free copy, or you could have, if you had signed up to like get in from, like if you signed up early to be notified, and you get a free PDF of the player's handbook. And I was skimming through it. It looks mostly the same. Oh, hold on. Demo's got a good one here. You make your savings throw? Yeah, I knew you could. Channing Kilgore. Hey, I don't know if I recognize that, but welcome, sir. When do I start to eat the dice? I don't know, dude.
That's out of left field, but whenever you would like to.
He's probably being pretty crafty. We're just not catching it. I am crazy tired. I had a big celebration of life. My mother, I had mentioned she had passed away a couple of those last time, and that was good. It was a big, long weekend. So, but but I was the Catholic Crusades thing. I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm keeping an eye on it because I like the Troll Lords as people. I really like how they try to stay apolitical. They support military guys. So I kind of want to help them, but to buy the whole, you can get like there's a print. I want the print and PDF bundle. You get the core 3 books. Player's Handbook, DMG, and Castle Keeper, and Monster Manual. But then you get like they've created I don't know if it's a new one. It sounds like a new one, Adventure Path type thing, but it's $175. I mean, their books are beautiful. I mean, I'll give them that. I think their books are awesome. But
for the 3-book set,
yeah, and the Adventure Path, which that's not the worst.
No, it's 3
60-ish each. That's a little high, but
what's the It all depends on the page count, and for me, it depends on Captain Kangaroo. I haven't heard that in a long time. Bill Nye.
I'm trying to find
Bill Nye would run a 5e campaign with the bluest of the blue hairs.
Hold on one second.
But Captain Kangaroo, I don't know. He'd probably be a lot like Mr. Rogers. They were similar type personality types, I think. I don't know. I do not know anything about Blue's Clues. I really didn't know a whole lot about Bill Nye, except for a couple of YouTube videos about him explaining gravity to talk show people and them going, ooh, wow. And then the whole thing about him being on the, trans side of things, as if he, being Bill Nye, has like some kind of final word on and is an authority on science, and he's not
really. Captain Kangaroo, though I like him, probably the best of those guys, followed close by Mr. Rogers. I think Rogers might be the best. Dude, he was in the military. He's probably got I bet he's got some DMing skills if he wanted to show.
Yeah.
He did anyway. So here's the books you were asking about page count. So according to the Troll Lords guy, not much is changing. They're just taking out OGL stuff. But the Player's Handbook, right? This is the most recent printing. It comes in at 240 pages, and that's the smallest. The Monsters and Treasures is just a beautiful book, and it's 366. And then the Castle Keeper Guide, hear me groan, is a pretty big beast at 368. So, and you get stuff like, I don't think it's always the most beautiful art, but look, you get some really great maps. And what else is in here? There's just some nice color art all the way through. Nothing that I would be like, wow, this is the greatest artist on the planet, but it's good. I'm not an art guy. I have to admit, their most recent printing before this of the Monsters and Treasures, I do love the homage to the first Monster Manual.
Yeah,
that's what cool. It is. That's a beautiful book. So I don't know if it's worth it, right? Because a lot of people on the forums are saying, well, it's got just about the same stuff. But I have the PDF. I'm going to try to compare it to the eighth printing. They call it the 10th printing. They're saying you can use your old books, which has been they've been consistently true from what I've gathered. Every printing's not been an addition, and people are like, you can play the 3rd printing with the 8th printing, but there are some rule changes, but nothing huge. So
is the new thing I know they're going to remove the OGL stuff, but are they removing? Is it a different game engine?
I don't know. They're using the Siege engine. It sounds like it's going to be the same. I just don't know. So I'm kind of wondering, why would you buy it? If it's because I mean that's what everybody's saying. It's essentially the same, like limited rules changes, mostly taking. Like I think they're going to take out some WotC monster names. So, yeah. Oh, Balthazar's got a good question.
Oh, easy. I already know.
Hold on, silly question. Which Star Trek captain would make the best DM? I could do these silly pointless questions way too much. What do you think, Joe?
Kirk, hands down. So
yeah,
you might say he's not creative. However,
he's got the fire, dude.
He doesn't take no guff. He's the only one who beat the unbeatable scenario. So he is creative. So I wouldn't put it past him to be the best one.
Yeah, I would probably go with Kirk too. Then again, Kirk is my favorite. So, but yeah. So I don't know if anybody out there has thought about the new Castles and Crusades Forged. It's a shame Elven Maiden is not here because she's probably thinking about it. I better get on the speakeasy and ask her. I bet she would know.
Yeah. So maybe initially their sales may not be great, especially if you recently bought the books.
I did.
But it might be something for folks who don't have their books. And going forward, that's what their books are. So they probably had to replace from their point of view the OGL stuff, because from what I know, if you listen to what's the girls channel, it's got
Dungeons and Discourse.
Dungeons and Discourse. I always want to put the diversity.
Right, that's first being dragons, yeah.
Anyway, Dungeons and Discourse lady, from listening to her a few times, it seems like the OGL debacle could easily rear its ugly head again. So,
well, you can't trust them. In fact, this week she talked about trust and the AI stuff. I was going to bring that up. That she showed some of their recent changes.
Segue delivered expertly.
Well done, Joseph. And she, if you have a chance to watch the most recent video, she puts like one a week, and I like her. Like I said before, she's got a little. It doesn't come across a lot, but you can tell she's got a little.
It's hard for us traditional-minded folks to take progressive folks too seriously.
But she's easy to take. She's easy to deal with.
She doesn't
drive you crazy. Like,
nah.
She's the type like, okay, you believe what you want. I don't hate you. Right. And but she said that their new statement, and she apparently had studied law at one time, and said they really put in the that's a fact. Her accent's Noah. Like instead of saying now, she goes Noah. Noah.
Nay.
Nay. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's
Lots
cool,
of different. It's 3 letters. Only one of them is a vowel, and there's all kinds of vowel action in the way that accent works. But you know what? If I was to play a character and copy that accent, I would be demonized as you're so you did a stereotypical accent, and I would just play her.
So, well, thank you for that. That's a nice compliment.
Yeah.
So you could tell I was going. Is she Irish? I think she's Irish.
You know what? Someone brought up Cisco, and maybe Cisco would be like number 2. Janeway probably would become a killer DM because she has to be the better, because it's all men.
Oh, Data would be the all rules. He would be the rules lawyer in the group.
I've got to take care of a troll in the comments. But
anyway, her video is going on and on about how WotC has modified their AI statement. Dungeons and Discourse. I don't know if I can type it in here or not. I'll try.
You can put in
the name.
Yeah. You should be able to put in a link as well. It's just the folks that are watching us live cannot, because we have lorded that over them. We've taken that from them.
Okay. So they'll let me do this if it's a YouTube thing. I'll do that. I'm going to do it.
No, they'll just let you put in a link. I've done it before.
Okay, I just did it. Yeah, that's it. I mean, she's fine. But what I'm saying is, it got me thinking a lot how they've changed their stance and how they claim that Giants book they recently did. They didn't know those couple of Giants had AI art in them. Like, come on, who are you talking about? We talked about you shouldn't buy things from people that hate you. You also shouldn't buy things from people that are liars. And at this point, Hasbro and Watson, you just can't trust them, dude. I just don't know why anybody would buy something from them now. Just give it up, man. There's better things out there, better people out there that don't hate you. Like, I don't know, the Troll Lords. I'd rather drop $1.75 on a repeat of their stuff than to buy anything new from Watsy or Paizo. Or, yeah, even WizKids, honestly.
Oh,
but did you get them?
I'm getting ready
Put it on them. Oh,
getting ready
Joe.
to.
About to put the hammer on them. Joe, don't play. Don't bring that stuff in.
Hammer. Block.
Ban Hamitude. What would Worf be like as a dungeon master? Probably. Roll initiative. Every time. Roll initiative.
No.
Roll initiative.
Worf would take you into the
holodeck.
The holodeck and
live.
say, yeah, it's live, baby.
Yeah, we're going to use some real weapons too. Weapons.
Yeah, real weapons.
Yeah, if you're going to be D&D, you're going to do it right. One session. Yeah, Mac. Be one session with Worf. And he'd be like, looks like somebody can win D&D. I just did.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what would happen. Yeah. Everyone quit your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he would run Dark Sun for sure. I agree. One session of Dark Sun. Oh, all right.
They kind of did role playing.
They did.
They were always half the episodes seemed to be the very beginning. They're doing something on the high seas or something with all of the crew acting together.
Now with the holodeck,
yeah.
If that was a real thing, would you think that would be a superior way to play than on the table?
If it worked
the way
like
they
the holodeck,
the way they showed it. Yep.
And safety protocols were fully engaged all the time.
Right.
Maybe you got some haptic feedback from getting shot in the head or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fine. I think that would be fun.
Well, it'd be fun, but would it replace tabletop?
Well, probably not. It would probably replace tabletop as much as online games do now. Because people like being able to. I mean, especially if you could log in from your house. If the holodeck thing could be entered from, say, a VR headset or some such, but if you had to go to a different building, I think that would put a damper on it.
And it would be crazy expensive, at least initially.
Yes, they did. They did play a lot of poker because they played in a atmosphere. Oh, they played a lot of poker just normally too. Yeah.
Oh, right, Arn Man. Odo as the DM shape changes. The monster looks like me.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Patrick's got a cool idea.
Yeah.
To program the holodeck to simulate your character sheet and act accordingly to dice rolls.
And the DM could always be somewhere in the holodeck, and then when there's a monster that he needs to have dialogue for, he could always possess that monster. Yeah. That would be cool.
I guess it would be quite an experience, but I don't know. Anyway. Oh, Patty's Parlor in the house. What is up?
Hey.
All right. What say we get into our topic du jour? You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. The best D&D monsters. So Joe and I have, for the last year or two, I think 2 years, we've done a episode called The Monster Mash, wherein we dove into a type of monster or a particular monster, usually broader types. We did according to my records, we did 16 of them, and that seems like enough. And tonight we're going to tell you what the best monsters are. So you can stop using the other ones and just use the ones that Joe and I are going to tell you to use.
Because they're the best.
Because they're the best. And Joe and I both actually made a top 15. The ones we're working from at this point, I don't know if I want to read all of them.
Top 5.
Right, but we have about 16 to choose from. Joe and I are going to
Yes.
give a top 5. We have covered them. And tonight we want to kind of pick. We're going to give our picks. And then are we going to give our picks first, or are we going to do them numerically first? Because we have a rating system we're going to use as well. Do you want to give our picks as from like just our own?
Yeah, let's give them our picks. Then we'll talk about the other ones, depending on time and all that.
Sounds good. Why don't we start with number 5, Joe? Why don't you go
Number
first?
5.
What was he picked the top 5. I picked the top 5 for a total of 10. We'll see how close they're. What was your number 5 for the ones we've covered?
The Workaday Orc. Because they're easy to justify killing, because who doesn't like killing orcs?
And they're everywhere. They're ubiquitous.
They're ubiquitous. Their mere existence warrants their destruction.
And you love that.
Yeah.
Cool. My number 5 was NPCs. Kind of.
Same deal.
Sort of. But I also think they have a lot of creativity for the dungeon master. You get to make your own, especially special ones that you really work on. But NPCs as villains, the evil wizard, the evil warlord, the nasty thief, the assassin that tries to kill everybody. So I put NPCs as number 5 for me.
Well, and it, like orcs, their mere existence warrants their destruction.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think they add a little more. For some players other than Joe, Joe will kill them just because they're the NPCs. He knows they're up to something.
Don't look cross-eyed at me.
He don't take no lip from some NPC.
No.
But I think NPCs. Mine probably come more from a dungeon master viewpoint, because I really enjoy creating a very memorable villain that's an NPC. It seems like it sticks more in players' minds when it's a character that they could have created, like a elven wizard or a dwarven assassin. How's that for a weird variety? Okay.
Well, dwarven assassins were kind of any kind of roguish assassin. Dwarf was kind of the thing back in first edition, because they could be the dwarf rogue or thief was the highest level. They could achieve the highest level. All the races could go unlimited as a thief, but all the other classes for dwarf were pretty low.
Patty made a comment. He said, I definitely feel that way about goblins. I think Joe's orc choice actually comes from an episode involving a monster match with orcs and other humanoids. For goblins, hobgoblins, gnolls, all those were put into that basket. Joe may be saying particularly orcs, but when we discussed it, it was humanoids. Right. And I think they all kind of they usually fill a similar niche. So you could say goblins if you wished.
Going back a little bit, Martinson says, so Joe's ideal way would be like Ready Player One. Not sure, because I didn't read it or watch it. So you would know better than I.
If what I watched was accurate, it would not be my favorite. Because then you got people playing the Hulk alongside Gandalf, alongside some...
weird
stuff.
So, that's weird.
Yeah, but it was a decent movie. I didn't read the book, so... What you got for number 4, Joseph? What's your number 4?
The Mimic.
Oh, you went very particular. Oh,
so,
that would have fallen in the category of aberrations. See, I went broader. That's cool. Go ahead.
So it's the base creature and its thematic variants give your world a more sinister feel, because you have the Mimic, and if you also employ, let's say, the Cloaker and a Roper, because they all pose as something. And you're kind of just in their natural state. They just pose as something that would normally be in a dungeon.
Sure.
And your adventure is just going do and they just get eaten by a roper because they're freaking tough. But mimics could be, I can't remember what their hit dice were, but if you're bit face down into a treasure into a treasure chest, and then, all of a sudden, all those gold coins and whatever transforms into a, ravenous maw. You're pretty vulnerable.
I think the first time any DM, when I saw the Mimic, I was like, that is so great. Especially it was after players were getting treasure, treasure chest. Oh, it's Martinson clarifying.
Yeah.
Well, say again, I think we took a different approach. You went specific monsters. I went more categories
Ah,
because that's how our discussions went, but that's okay. I picked dragons. Dragons only made it number 4 on my list.
oh, okay.
They're definitely the most iconic. The name is in the game. A lot of times for Dungeons and Dragons, but even fantasy, they're a big deal. I think they are. They have, you forget D&D. They are just like, in many ways, the ultimate creature to fight. Doesn't always, to me, it doesn't make them higher ranking because for me, finding a good place to place a dragon where it's appropriate and where it doesn't get like just a dragon can't just be like an orc, can't just show up. At least I won't say can't. I have a hard time letting dragons be ubiquitous. Yeah, Balthazar. Many people will say that dragons are the number 1, but it's only my number 4 because I think I want it to be so special. I just won't use them as much. And this is part of the ranking, right? The best monsters should probably be used more than others, but to me, dragons fall a little bit lower on the scale. But they are ferocious, they're cool, they're magical, they're everything, right? They're in many ways you could call them the iconic monster.
Yes,
But
that is the case.
But this is me going by my feels. Soon we're going to use mathematics.
Right. Which is also kind of feels for you.
It is. I did math just hit me in the feels. I have to be honest.
So we're on number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And my number 3 is the giant. So that's category. So
Mm-hmm.
I would just say, I'm just saying giant, not a particular kind of giant. And for me, they're tough and challenging.
Yep.
And barring that dude over there, for the most part, when you defeat a giant, you're going to get some treasure. Because they are collectors of treasure of some kind or another.
From the early days, they had those bags of goodies. They killed one, had the special bags of treasure.
Yeah. So that's this is me speaking from a player's point of view. They're tough. They can almost always be a nail biter because even though they're not that hard to hit, they usually have a truckload of hit points, and when they land a blow,
it's ouch time.
Oh yeah.
My number 3 is golems, and again, I realize that's probably more me than anybody else, but I like the side of it where like these are these creations of wizards. I like the fact that they're can be indestructible in some sense. They feel that way.
Yeah, they're hard to take down.
Yeah, golems can be hard to take down. I like the fact that they're great guardians and they can be anywhere. They can be in a dungeon. They can be in a castle. You could find one in an old ruined forest just standing still. Why is he in this room? And there's no reason. And deep under the ocean, inside a volcano. Why not? It's pretty easy. Their utility is pretty broad.
Right. The cool thing is for the DM is you don't have to, and maybe many don't, but you don't even have to think about how could this guardian stay here forever. And not be insane or a pile of bones because there's no food or whatever. The person who sets it up, it just sits there and guards until it's destroyed, if that ever happens, because they're really tough. All right, that was number 3. So we're on number 2.
Yep.
The Beholder.
Oh, yes.
So I have 2 aberrations on here. This mimics an
you
aberration as well.
Sure. Well, you went specific and I went broad, so that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, for the Beholder, they're insanely challenging because they're smart. They're not just some beast. So they could have set up the Beholder to be just some beast with eye stalks.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this is a smart dude.
Mm-hmm.
And with as smart as they are, they're not just some dungeon guardian.
A la D&D movie number 1.
Yeah, there's more going on in a location where there's a Beholder.
Yes,
almost always.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just. There's not. I would find it ridiculous for someone to just randomly have a Beholder, unless it was summoned, or it's traveling through the area, or maybe it's the controller of the area, and you just randomly meet up with it in its travels.
Right. But it should have I feel like it should have a purpose. It should be, and it should be up to things. It should rarely be this, you roll into its room, roll initiative, let's fight. I mean, not
Right.
that you can't, but it's probably going to be up to something, and I would have a beholder be more likely to engage you in conversation, at least initially.
Sure. I mean, it doesn't have opposable thumbs.
Nope.
Or fingers. Mm-hmm. So likely it's going to have servants or want you as that. Maybe some of you as servants and maybe one of you as food. So I don't really remember, but they have a giant maw on the bottom of their bulbous head.
Yes, they do. They got a huge mouth, actually.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's willing to just chew you up.
And they're like, if you go to second edition, of course, even earlier days, they're like 3 foot diameter. Was it a 3 foot diameter sphere or 3 foot radius sphere? But there were also later in second edition, and that there's a trilogy of like, they look like they were modules, but they also had extra information. Eye Tyrant. There were Great Mothers, which were like 5 foot, 6 foot diameter. They were humongous, and they had like even more eyes and could do more things. And I was like, whoa.
Well, both the beholders, and the mind flayers had. They became a little bit more attached to the Cthulhu type of thinking, where they had odd other creatures that you could encounter with if you ran into a bunch of beholders.
Yeah,
they came up with undead beholders and
maybe
even was there a
beholder lich? And I think in third edition is where it first showed up. Might have been in second, but yeah, they had a beholder lich, and that's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Speaking of liches, my number 2 is corporeal undead, and I do differentiate them. But corporeal undead, skeleton zombies, that's ubiquitous part. But I love the fearsome level drainers, wights, and vampires. Vampires are a great iconic boss for a big arc of a campaign, trying to defeat Dracula or whatever it might be. I mean, they're just intelligent, and they can have classes, so that makes them even more dangerous. But even a lich, if you want to go high level, to me, liches can't. I always thought it was silly in third edition when liches could be like 8th level or even 9th level. I was like, it's not a lich. Liches are like high level mages. I mean, if they're not at least throwing 1 9th level spell a day, they can't call themselves a lich.
No.
Not in D&D terms. I know Horde Wars has a different feel in that, but yeah, so for me, corporeal undead, I mean, these are probably not shocking to you guys that have played with me. These are some of my favorite monsters. So
golems and undead.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the number 1.
The best monsters. Mine is going to be category. Joe's is probably going to be specific.
Yes. Fairly. Dragons. So, and here's why. I wrote down here obvious, but it's not necessarily so. So with dragons, depending on which version and how you treat them, you could use the dragons as either big tough beasts if they're in the younger category of age and they don't necessarily have any magic powers yet, or you can use them as the Gish of monsters, because depending on which dragon type and how old they are, they can have a lot of magical ability and have no loss in how tough they are to take down and how tough they are to deal damage. And so they can be a horror on the battlefield without even casting a spell. Or they can sit back and cast spells and still be a horror, because they've got all kinds of, depending on which variety and how old they are, they can have all kinds of spells. And depending on how you use it. So if you use the dragon as a enforcer of tribute, there's no telling what kind of loot they have, so that they could actually use. And they could have guardians there with them using some of that tribute against you, which is always what you don't want to see. Because you want the treasure to stay safely in a box somewhere.
Right.
And so it doesn't risk getting destroyed or caught in the dragon's breath or whatever. Yeah. But plus, they can be political.
Oh yeah.
Because many of them can shape change into humanoids or other humans or other humanoids and pose as something they're not.
Yeah. Dude, Balthazar backing you up from early on in the comments. He loves dragons and made a lot of points you did. I have a feline creature on my shoulders, which some people would think dragons have that as a quality. This is my cat Willow, and I don't know what she's up to, but she's in a weird position. She's what they call a ragdoll cat, so she doesn't mind just flopping over people, like over my shoulder here. She's literally just flopped over my back, so she's a weirdo.
Yeah.
But yeah, dragon. I mean, look, I won't argue as far as like, no, bad choice, because my list was mine. Dragons are lower because I like all those things. I love that they can be smart and get involved with stuff. And I could imagine a campaign where they are the actual final boss, the final challenge, or even just the guy that always gives you headaches and trouble. I guess I just want them to be a part of my mind too. Is I want them to be rarer. So I just don't. Not really. I like them, but I don't use them all that much. Armad had a counter to one of our comments about liches. He says, I had lower level liches. I called them abracadavers. Well
That's
played.
Funny. So I could see minor liches kind of being lich spawn, right? They find some lower level, mid level wizard and say, oh, I like that guy. Come over here. Let me lichify you. You'll be my servant.
Yeah, but you're not full lichness. And then if the lich gets killed, maybe you get your freedom, kind of like a vampire spawn.
Could be that. You could have minor liches being some sort of, what would be the word for it? Not spawn, but clones.
Yes.
Right? So you could have the main lich have a few clones that are lower level because he can't just duplicate himself.
I think oh wow, I don't know what she's doing. She's crawling away over me now. She's being weird. Willow's being crazy. I'm not going to knock her off because she has her claws kind of not in my back, but she's like hanging on. And I'm like, oh boy, if I push her off now, I'll get scratched up. She's a sweetie, but dang, she holds on.
I think if they're just an undead spellcaster, they probably I would if I was to run that as a DM and you're only like an 8th or 9th level caster, you wouldn't have all of the other lich abilities.
No.
You would have the immunities of being a corporeal undead, and you might have some improved immunities and whatnot. But wouldn't be as a regular lich.
I guess for me, I would. I don't have a problem with doing that, but just when I think lich, I don't think 8th, 9th, 10th level.
No, caster.
I think archmage. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean you can't have them. Okay, she's going. I don't know what she's doing, but she's.
I can kind of understand why that could be part of the game where they might start lower level, because let's say you're 18th level and you've become a lich. How much farther down that road can you go as a mage? As an arc, you're already an archmage. You got 2 levels left before you're the top of the chain for advancement, and now you're kind of stagnant forever.
Yep.
So I could understand.
Maybe as you age, like really get 500, 1,000, 2,000 years old, maybe you start to lose power. Maybe your body, maybe even your magical undead mind starts to deteriorate. Kind of.
Isn't it the demi-lich?
Yeah,
the one
that's how it works. Yeah,
disintegrates into just a
skull.
A skull, and then the rest of him is incorporeal.
And I think it does nothing until you touch it.
Yeah, it does. He doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. He's kind of stuck there in his skull.
Balthazar's pimping out for the dragon. He says a dragon's political power, magic power, shape-shifting power is going to see them in some pretty serious places with some pretty serious firepower. Yeah, and in 2nd edition, I believe those great worms were cast in 9th level spells.
Yeah.
They were pretty scary hombres. And I mean, I love that. I love that as a dragon. I've used them, and I do like powerful dragons, but I guess they're just not they don't come up often enough for me. I won't use them like that consistent because I don't know. I just feel like they got to have a special.
Well, it's the same deal. You don't give out magic items either. So.
Right. Yeah. And if I have a dragon, God, if you kill him in his lair, I almost have to put a magic item in there. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. Did you hear him, guys? Magic item. Single.
Well, dragons are powerful. They shouldn't have a magic item. That seems only fair. I mean, I would hate to have that to players. My number one. Are we ready for my number one? Because it'll be a little different. I bet Joe can guess it though.
Your number one?
What do you think it is?
Okay, so you've got your golems and your
golems
demons,
and undead and dragons.
demons.
Yep, demons and devils. Correct. Not only because of my Planescape love, but I do love the. I like the fact that they can be powerful. They do try to mess with player characters, and I believe Iron Man made a comment a while back. Here he goes. Any monster that wants to make a deal with the players, boom, offer that sweet shortcut to power. Oh yeah, says the devil. I got you, baby. Here you go, Joe.
Genies can be like that too.
Take this ring, Joe. You can have 4 levels. Don't worry about it, man. Pay me back whenever. I love that. Oh, it's a spellbook too. It's an old Archlich's spellbook. Look, you're the man.
And you
now.
know what? If there was any sort of detection abilities that the party would have, they would all be like, "He's telling you the truth."
Exactly. He wouldn't lie to you.
He wasn't lying.
Would I lie to you, man?
Right.
But
although if you used augury,
right,
you would most certainly say this is a bad idea.
Correct. Very bad idea. Dude, Joe just he stops. Anytime I'm offering deals, he's like, I'll give you this magic sword. What? What's Randy doing giving stuff away? But I think demons have demons, if you're going to D&D style, D&D rules, being the chaotic evil, they're like the engines of destruction. So you can bring them in just to mess crap up. And devils are the machination side. And I don't care if someone wants to just mix them all together and call them a single race of infernal creatures of whatever sort.
Yeah.
But I just think I like that difference. I like their ability to manipulate things behind the scenes when characters are like, man, we never seem to catch this dude. Yeah, that's because he's a 2 millennial-old devil. And he's seen all the things you're doing. You're not tricking him.
Right. So. I would make it too, so that even if you even have a chance of landing a blow against the devil, unless it's confined, or whatever, you've maybe tricked it into attacking from somehow, it just leaves.
Our man's got it. Back to dragons. Kill an ancient dragon. Find a ring +1. Not +1 protection. It's a magic ring +1. +1 to what? Does that really matter?
Doesn't matter.
Just feel good about yourself.
It has a magic aura.
And
it has good. A +1 scrawled onto it, right, where a valuable gem would be.
I want you to feel you're doing well.
Yeah.
So thanks, Arn, man. That's
it says perfect. +1 right there. It's
right. What are you crying about? But I guess to me, and I know that I bought the Hellbound. I have like almost all the I think I have all the Planescape box sets. And Hellbound, I devoured that, and it was just, man, these guys could be they're such great villains, and they can shapeshift, and they can make deals that can screw you, and they can screw you in your life and in your afterlife.
Yes.
Which is a double win.
If they get their hooks into your soul,
you're in trouble. Yeah.
And I don't remember if can they all teleport?
Well, in the modern rules, I don't know.
I'm not talking about gaining. I'm talking about just their own personal traveling.
In first edition, okay, people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in second edition you had to be a greater devil or a greater demon, and then you could teleport without error at will. Mm-hmm. And then I think if you were lesser, you could do it once a day, sometimes depending on the creature. I think in first edition though, I think they were all teleporting like crazy dudes.
It seemed like it. That's the way you did it.
Well, yeah, because I don't know. Why bother reading the rules? I mean, why put limitations on my monsters? That doesn't seem fair.
I want my monster to get away, so hence it gets away.
When the players are 10th level and they got +1 swords. Hey, what's up? Canal de Bayo. Cool name. What's up, nerds? The nerds are up. That's what's going on, man. So, yeah, but...
doing nerdy things.
It was interesting. You did specifics and I did categories. That's cool. Joe, I sensed a little fondness of the aberrations in yours. That's cool.
Yeah. They get okay. Cool. So aberrations have been with the game since the very beginning.
Yep.
And I know that they may not play a large role in a lot of games, but I really think that the more aberrations you have, mm-hmm, the more of that sinister feel. Demons and devils can do the same thing.
Sure.
Otherwise, most of the time, it's just they're monsters.
Well,
And
aberrations
it's
can bring.
dangerous and
Yeah.
gritty,
Yeah.
but not sinister. Aberrations do that.
Well, aberrations are like their evil is sometimes so vile, like the thing that man was not meant to know, right? They give that Cthulhu spin. We're like, they're just doing wicked. Why are they turning that guy's eyeballs into worms? Because
Right.
I can.
Because
What? That's all. That's your only reason? Nah, you wouldn't.
Right.
You wouldn't understand.
Right. So you've got your mind flayers. All they want to do, is take over your planet. They want to eat all the brains, and not all of them. They want to eat most of them. They'll farm out the people. They'll breed people out, make sure that there's brains for them to eat.
Yeah.
But they want the world.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they deserve it.
Patty's Power says, I love aberrants. They feel so unnatural. They feel like the thing that should not be.
Yeah.
And you can be like Joe's reason for killing orcs. You can kill beholders with impunity.
Yeah.
No one judges you. Kill that multi-eyeballed piece of goo.
Right.
You're not wrong, Balthazar. They can be hard. He says, I'm not fond of using demons and devils, but we'll use them very rarely. The more powerful they are, the more difficult they can be to DM. Same with higher intelligent monsters. Well, yeah, you got to be, I think it's tough because I'm not a genius, but if you're playing a creature that, like I remember they used to call creatures super genius. I'm like, how do I really play Wile E. Coyote if I'm not? I think the only way to do it, and a lot of people don't like this, is you got to kind of, I don't want to say cheat, but kind of cheat a little. I mean, if the players unless the players come up with a truly unique thing, they're not catching Mephistopheles with his pants down.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't mean they may not foil a plan, but he has a backup plan. And yes, dudes, I'm sorry, he got away.
Yeah.
Now, if you think of something really ingenious, you get his true name, going old school, then you could jack him up. But if you're just like, oh, we got him trapped in this room. No, you don't. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here. You're trapped in here with me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a fan of being too cheaty, but sometimes one guy got one DM, you got 5 players. Now DM has the advantage. He's designing the scenario, so he knows the challenges. But when it comes down to the play and that things are happening and situations are changing, the players, I got 5 players, dude. 5 players are smarter than one DM. And that's a good thing because you want the players really to win, or at least I want them to win. But I mean, I don't want to give them away things for free.
And the other thing with the demons is creatures that are on that level.
Right.
Is even if the players defeat the demon or the devil, that doesn't mean they're dead permanently.
Some games it could just be banishment. That's all you could hope to do.
And even though it says in a lot of places, banish once you do this, they're banished for 1,000 years. There's always ways around that crap.
And with devils, there's loopholes for everything.
Yeah, loopholes.
10,000 years ago,
I passed along my curse to somebody who were just willing to take it.
I
You stay here for 1,000 years, right? Yeah, I'll do that.
I saved a low-ranking devil once, and I made him promise to take my next banishment for me.
Yeah.
And I've done that, I don't know, 200 times. So you will not be managing me for 1,000 years. See you next week. So, yeah, and to me that's fun. And as long as they're not just complete screw, then yeah.
And that might be really the only thing that's so powerful about them is the tenacity. They're always coming back. And let's go face this dude on his home plane to put him down permanently. Good luck with that.
Larry Elliott, he's had an epiphany of being a newish player, only a few years in. And by winning, Randy means they live. Winning does not include treasure. Correct, Larry. You have learned. That is victory in my games. Living.
Right. Living. You survive.
Well done.
You have no food. You might not be able to make it back to town alive because it's 3 days away and you have no food. There's no treasure, but you're alive. You have a hit point.
And you're second level now.
You're second level now.
So good job.
You can't get all your hit points back until you rest for a day in town.
And you got 6 weeks to get home to town.
Yeah.
So good luck.
So good luck.
Our man brings an oldie but a goodie, and this is classic. I always like hags and trolls. Yeah, hags would be, if I was doing specific, they would have made a run to the top 5.
They can be that wily they can take the place of that wily adversary that gets away a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as long running as, say, a dragon or a demon or something like that.
And they can
Can be just as annoying to put down.
And they can be bargainers. You can make bargains with hags, and trolls can be their beefy backup.
Right, and you don't have to always go with the big, powerful demons, right?
No.
My wife ran a game where it was an imp.
Oh,
It was just an imp. All it was an imp, and it was always screwing us over.
I don't know.
And then going hee 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 and getting away.
Yeah, I don't know. In 3rd edition, you might have played a group of like 3rd level characters. I had an imp that harassed the living crap out of this party going through a dungeon, and they finally got him at the end. They finally cornered him and killed him. It was like 4 sessions, and they're like, "That's what that," because he was doing everything he did was invisible. And he comes up and they're like, "That's what he is, that little turd." I'm like, "Yeah, that little turd. He almost killed you multiple times."
They're fairly weak. If you get your hands on the imp, they're going to go down.
But they can set you up for trouble.
Yeah, and they're fast. And they can get away if you're not careful.
And being able to turn invisible at will is pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so shall we try some ranking? Did you like my categories?
Yes.
So we're going to try some numerical ranking here, and I'm going to use 4 categories on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Number 1 the first category is going to be utility. How useful they are to have in your campaign, in your game. Number 2 is their iconic quality. So when someone thinks of a fantasy game or D&D, dude, this monster or category of monsters pops up.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is their uniqueness. And that can be in terms of not just the individual creature, but the fact that when you have an encounter with one of them, it tends to be very different than an encounter with another one of those.
Right.
And the last one is how inspirational they are. Either as a player, like, man, we really fought, so it was amazing, or as a DM, like when I read this monster, man, they inspire me to write really cool adventures. So do you want to, what's Patty saying?
Patty is saying, I think my top 5, Patty's Parlor, I think my top 5 are cultists, lesser undead, golems, aberrants, and goblinoids.
That's a solid, yeah. I mean, honestly, I bet everybody on here could give us five creatures or categories of creatures that would be not the same as the others, and we'd all be like, that's a pretty good choice. I mean, D&D especially that's one of the draws to me. It has one of the best, what am I looking for, rosters of monsters of any game I've ever seen. Probably the best. I don't know what would be better than D&D as far as roster of monsters.
Right, and you're hard-pressed to get into another fantasy game that doesn't have a lot of overlap.
Sure. Yeah, we can call it D&D, but it could work for, I don't know, what's that game that we're supposed to drink whenever we say it? Patrick loves that game. So does Legion of Myth. I'm forgetting the game.
Yes, me too.
Oh, man-itis. It's so dumb.
It starts with an E.
Fantasy Hero, as I mentioned last week. But I don't know, Pathfinder and stuff. Yeah, but anyway, so we're going to rank them on a scale of 1 to 5. Now, do you want to why don't we do yours first, and then we'll do mine? Earth Dawn. Thank you, Patrick. That's the one.
Yes, Earth Dawn. Yes.
I don't know, Warhammer.
It started with an E. I got the first letter right.
Castles and Crusades. Pick your favorite, fantasy game. What Rifts? Rifts doesn't. Rifts. You know what's funny? And Joe made this up. Yes, they have monsters, but I don't think Rifts has. They don't have the printed variety that D&D has. I could be wrong because they have 4 billion books, but in their core book, their bestiary, which I have their core bestiary, does not touch D&D in variety. Okay, why don't we try yours, and we'll see. We'll work together. Let's just do them all maybe at once. So let me write yours down, Joe. So 1 was dragons, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 was beholders.
Yep.
3 was what? I forgot.
Giants.
4 was mimic.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 was the orc.
The orc.
So let's just kind of go. We'll go down the list and we'll see what we end up with. Let's start with your orcs. So what would we give them for utility on a scale of 1 to 5?
Well, let's see. They can be ubiquitous, but as far as utility, that's a different thing.
Means you can use them in a lot of situations, yes or no?
I guess you can use them in a lot of situations as a particular thing, like a frontline sword absorber. So pretty high.
Three, four?
We'll go with 3.
3. Okay. What about as their iconic quality? Someone says orc, you're like, oh yeah, that's fantasy.
I would give
role-playing.
them a 4 on iconic quality.
I agree. What about uniqueness? Encounters are so unique.
Probably kind of low.
I would lead toward a 2 or a 1 personally.
Yeah.
Which one you want to do? I can go through the 1.
We'll go with 1.
Okay. And then inspiration level.
Same.
1. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 8. That's an average of 2. I'm going to round at 0.5. So that's an average of 2. What about the mimic utility?
Utility.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what. I'll let you do yours and I'll do mine.
Okay.
You just do it. How would you do it?
Gotcha.
Meaning you can give me the number. I won't debate you. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So utility for the mimics. I'm going to go with a 3 again on that.
Okay.
Iconic quality, I would say, again, a 3.
Okay.
Uniqueness, you can do a lot of cool things with the mimic type characters.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go with 4 on that.
Mm-hmm.
And inspiration level, probably 3.
Okay.
Because basically, you just wait for people to come by and eat them.
Right. So that's a total of 13. So that'll be 3.2-ish. Giants.
I'll give them a 3 on utility.
Okay.
A 4 on iconic quality. Uniqueness, probably a 2. But I'm going to go kind of higher on inspiration level. I'm going to go 4 on that.
Okay. That's 13 again, so it's 3.2. All right. Beholder. By the way, I've already done mine, folks, so mine's going to be faster. I did mine and like 5 others just because I was concerned about what would happen compared to what I felt like versus what happened in my rankings actually changed.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. Go ahead.
Right. So Beholder's utility is probably a 4.
Okay.
Because they can be used in a lot of different roles, I think.
Sure.
Iconic quality is probably 4.
Okay.
Actually, no. Bump up iconic to 5.
Okay.
Because
especially
they are a D&D monster.
And they will have been on the cover of the last 2, the new edition and the previous edition's cover of the Monster Manual. So that's credit. Yeah. Represent.
Yeah. Uniqueness, 3.
Okay.
Inspiration level 4.
Oh, wow. So that's 8 and 8. That's 6. Oh, that's a 4. That's the reason they're a 2.0. That's pretty good. All right. How about your dragons, though, baby?
All right. Utility. Actually, utility is going to be kind of low because they're big and you can only get them in certain places unless they're shape changers.
Now, if you believe all dragons are shape changers, all dragons are super magical, even when they're small.
No, it varies.
I think so, too.
It varies. So I'm going to say 2 on utility.
Okay.
Iconic quality, 5.
5 with a bullet, man. Yep.
Yeah. Uniqueness, also 5.
Cool.
Because you can do all kinds of different things with them. And I'm going to give them 5 on inspiration, too.
Wow. Yeah, makes sense. So 15, that's 17. That's going to be 4.2. So yours played out just like you planned, but you kind of did it after. I decided that I would just rank them. And I added a few more creatures in that I almost made my top 5. And the fascinating thing was this. My number 5 that I chose was my number 1. NPCs ended up being number 1. I had ranked them as an average of 4.1, giving them a 5 on utility and a 5 on, what was the other category? Uniqueness. So I thought they were very useful. They're all over the place. You can use them. They're in every category. So NPCs eked out my number 2, which was still Demons and Devils. Demons and Devils got a 5 on inspiration. Now that's granted me. They inspire me a lot. but they got a 4 on utility and a 4 on uniqueness, but they only got a 3 on iconic quality. I should probably bump that down.
Patty's Parlor has to go because he's getting ready. Get ready for dinner.
Yep.
So have a good time eating dinner.
He wants to get into a game of Horde Wars with us, Patty. I may be running that live at some point soon. I've been thinking about it, so I will definitely call you in on that game. I'd like to get Patty in on the game.
Yeah.
So I had the Demons and Devils rolling in at a 4.0 exactly. And so they were number 2. Number 3 for me, numerically, was the Corporeal Undead. Again, I think they show up in every module. You have undead, skeletons, zombies, whatever. So they're useful. They are iconic because you got to realize mine are a little different than Joe's. So when I do utility, I got a whole category of creatures. So it's almost a little unfair. But it's fun that you did mostly specifics and I did mostly broads. I did have them as Inspiration 5, but again, Randy's biased. I think of all kinds of juicy adventures with undead. Uniqueness, I said 3 because they kind of all run together and they can become a blur to some people. Undead, zombies, skeletons, ghouls, whatever, who cares? But they ended up with a 4, just under a 4, I think, compared to dragons. They were pretty close. You probably could have gave it a tie. The number 4 was dragons. I had them in the same spot that I actually originally picked them with. This weird, but I did give them the 5 with a bullet for iconic quality, a 4 for uniqueness, but utility I dropped them down to a 2 because I just don't use them that much. An inspiration, and Balthazar and others on here love dragons. Joe loves dragons. I look at them, but I'm not always inspired to use them because I always see them as like the final boss, this massive creature that you got to fight to get your +1 sword. At the end of ninth level.
The final boss, you finally get a +1 item.
At ninth level.
Retire.
+1. Sorry, +1, ring of +1.
Ring +1.
Armman corrects that. Now, here's the one that surprised me. Number 5, along with NPCs in the top, number 5 was not even, it didn't actually have, golems didn't make the cut. No, they did, but they tied with 2 others. Orcs and the Tarask.
The Tarask.
The Tarask was interesting because I gave him iconic quality and uniqueness of a 5.
Yeah.
Just an unstoppable killing machine. But I gave him a 1 on his iconic quality and uniqueness. On utility, I gave him a 1.
Yeah.
He's sort of a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And I gave him a 2 on inspiration. So
right.
The Tarask are great, but I was shocked that so many tied there. I was like, and I knew the Orc was one that he barely missed my top 5. The Tarask really wasn't on my mind until I started doing numbers. I did numbers for, this is just still gut feeling, that Aberrations only ended at a 3. But again, I think a lot of this is very subjective. But trying to rate them, I found that most of mine landed, I got 4 out of 5 creatures, but not in the same order.
Gotcha.
But it was just kind of fun to play the numbers game. I wish I could have, if I had taken the time, it'd be neat to actually set up a true scale where you could rank them like based upon how often they showed up in books and in modules and maybe, this would be impossible to do, but if you could even figure out how many times adventures at Gen Con that these certain creatures are used to do a real statistical study, it'd be funny to see what was considered the most.
Is that what you mean by a true scale? Is that some kind of statistical jargon?
Well, no, I'm saying, no, it's not. It's just Randy's words. I'm saying it'd be interesting to do as best you can on it. It would have to be, it's still descriptive statistics because we can't analytically say, a dragon ranks 4. What does that even mean? Right. Someone has to choose a category and how you figure it out. Yeah. But I think if you wanted to get some hard evidence, you'd have to go based upon the best way to do it would be to look at it over the editions, what monsters always appeared in the monster manual. What monsters got covers, what monsters appeared in modules the most, and probably NPCs would, I don't know if they would win that, but I mean, that's the best analytical way. And even that, people could say, that's a dumb way to do that. That's the problem with, essentially descriptive statistics. So
right, because it's subjective on its face.
It kind of is. And it's fun to do the best that you can to put a number on something that's really like, dude, I just love dragons. Yeah, dude, I get it. I know why you do, because they're super awesome.
Right.
So
We
And to be
we
fair,
like to think that it's objective, but it really
it's
is
really not. Very little of this is. Even what kind of games you play.
right.
I don't see how it's very subjective or objective. We had about 16 different categories, and I guess I would say they all were. We did 16 different episodes, and they all clearly were our favorites because we put them on the episode. We had a lot of honorable mentions we never got to. They were almost too narrow to categorize, or to spend a whole episode on. I think.
This
But
fella has a couple of good comments. I think.
Yeah.
Canal de Bayo, or
Yeah, Canal de Bayo. Yeah,
that sounds Italian, perhaps.
I'm not
Anyway,
sure. The dough, I'm not sure. Yeah.
dumb demons, quote unquote dumb demons with pure brute force, can be cool to use in a more ARPG style like Diablo. I know what Diablo is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're not.
Is ARPG action RPG?
Probably.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So the kind of demon that doesn't have a huge bank of powers and isn't all that smart and is an enforcer type demon. Yeah. It makes sense. And misdirection. It's fun to use other monsters who villagers and NPC misidentify as dragons. Yeah. There's a dragon out there, and you go out there and it's just a big lizard.
Misdirection's fun, and I remember in the Fiend Folio had a creature called an adherer, which looked like a mummy, and I believe it was a plant creature. Remember, your sword would stick to it.
Yeah.
And players were like, they were losing their crap because I cornered them somewhere. And they're like, "Oh my God, Randy! Oh my God, we're only 4th level." And it takes their weapon or two, and they're like, "What was that stupid thing?" It's an adherer. So yeah, that was.
Yeah,
but it is fun. It is fun to throw curveballs and surprise players. I agree 100%.
It is, because you do get a little jaded at times. I know what that monster does. We got to do this and blah blah blah. And I don't really care for that. I'd rather be surprised.
Balthazar says, "Sounds like a Fiend Folio monster." Bingo.
Yeah.
He made a good point. Wyverns are a good okey doke trick maneuver for it's a dragon. Oh wait a minute, but they got a poison death tail, so they're they're no joke either. You got to watch them. They'll get you.
Yeah, wyverns are no joke.
In the old day, in first edition, did wyverns have like save or die at -4?
I don't know.
They weren't -4, but they were tough. I can't remember. That was one of my favorite monsters back in the day. I used wyverns a lot, surprisingly enough. Even though I wasn't a big dragon guy, I liked wyverns. So when I say I love dragons, but I don't overuse them.
Well, it's like magic. You really like magic, but you want it to be rare.
I guess I want it to be spectacular. When someone sees it, I want to go, ooh. Oh, that'd be a good episode. Your favorite Fiend Folio monsters.
Yeah, because they're all weirdos.
Assassin Bug and the Aliax. The Aliax was the one that could make a twin of somebody. Is that right, Halcyon?
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
The Assassin Bug was weird. I was like, a bug that's an assassin? What? But hey. Now, the Fiend Folio art I loved. It was creepy and bizarre, but I loved it.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are going to have a somewhat shorter episode tonight. We have just the one topic. I do want to say that I have had 2 people post events for Big Geek Con, and I've approved both, so they're up in the schedule at Tabletop Events. So go check those out if you haven't already, and if you are planning on having events at Big Geek Con this year in September, please visit Tabletop Events at our con and submit some event ideas so we can get that schedule fleshed out. Oh, Larry, cool. Cool, Larry.
Excellent.
I'll get that worked on afterwards.
Before we go, I want to give Balthazar another nod. He picked some monsters I love.
Oh, rot grubs. Oh, my word. That is so D&D. It's just...
That is so mean, dude. I love them.
Yeah, that is not only so D&D, that is so Randy.
I love me some rock grubs. What was the one that would get in your ear if you put it that would get inside the locks? And was it called an earworm? I don't remember.
Well, that's earworms are on our world.
Okay, it was ear something. So I wish you could be too, Balthazar. I wish you could be there, man. Yeah. Martinson's saying he may run more. So, oh, Artman has a good question before we go. What good monsters could act as steeds for orcs?
I don't know. Depends on.
Catoblepus. Catoblepi.
No, because they're going. I mean, I think they're fine for an orc mount because half the time they're going to look at the catoblepus eyeballs and die. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
But orcs are depends on what you which version of the orc you're using. If you're using old school orcs, they are ugly humans in appearance. They don't look like third edition or later orcs that are big bestial dudes. So they could ride anything a human could, depending on whether or not in your world normal beasts of burden are okay with orcs. And if they're not, then they have to have their own thing. So if they do, maybe it's... Go ahead.
Dark Sun, nasty bestial orc, nasty violent orc on an axe beak. Now that sounds silly, but the axe beaks were super tough giant birds, and they were violent, dude. What's that modern bird that's really dangerous to be around? It's got a huge claw, big as my hand. It's everything's in Australia that will kill you.
Yeah,
maybe it's Australia. It's a bird that'll do that. So, but dire boars would be good for. Nightmares might be a little heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't even have to be monstrous. They can just be wild boars. They're big and maybe the orcs have some sort of rapport.
Or an elite orcs riding wyverns.
That could work too.
That could be wicked, man.
Yeah. All right, so get your events posted out on Big Geek Land or Big Geek Emporium. No, Big Geek Con over at Tabletop Events.
Oh yeah, I think I'd say this, Joe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Joe and I are going to try to streamline the stream a little bit. We're going to try to have more, maybe hour-ish long episodes. Yeah. We may have a rare long one, but try to cut back a little bit, and we'll maybe some changes ahead in Biggest Geek. I hope it's good though, so we'll see. I don't want to say too much because we haven't really decided too much. We just bandied about some ideas.
I just think that we're more along the lines of shorter.
I do too.
Less than 2 hours, closer to an hour.
Balthazar, we are in Michigan, mid-Michigan.
Yes.
So
we are in Michigan.
Yeah. So Saginaw is where Big Geek Con 2024 will be held. And if you could make it, it'd be great. I don't know where you're at. He's in Missouri. Oh, you're not that. Dude, we had someone from Mizzou last year. Darth was from Mizzou. Yep. It can be done. Yeah. Oh, Howson, that's a cool one. Envision Warhammer Night Goblins riding giant spiders. Ooh, imagine that coming down the ceiling. Ooh, that'd be sweet. All right, man. Are you ready to bug out of here? Anything else?
I'm ready to boogie.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. The shorter episode. We had a good time. And I'm Randy.
And I'm Joe.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.